Hi guys, I'm Mar, and today we're gonna do something a little bit different. Something I really love is beauty, and I don't really talk about beauty too much on this channel. I mean, I'll do a video here and there that's related to makeup or to like Sephora or something like that, but I just love sitting down and getting ready, and I've been obsessed with Bailey Sarian and her Murder Mystery Makeup Monday. And honestly, I was like, oh, I really want to do that. I feel like I almost want to get ready with her when she's doing these. So I figured I want to do something similar where I would just get ready and talk about anything that's interesting to me. And something that's interesting to me, as y'all know, is shopping. Oh god. But I really love to read about like a brand and how it's born and how people like make it. It's something that's so interesting to me. How sometimes they really mess it up and then that's why some brands are no longer cool. Just all these things. So I figured for this video, we would talk about the rise and fall of Victoria's Secret. Because seriously, I mean, I feel like Victoria's Secret used to be amazing. And then, I don't know, is it that cool still? I'm not really sure. So I did some research, I did some digging, I got the whole story for you guys. So I figured I would spill all the tea while I get ready, and then I'll list all the products in the description box, and hopefully you guys like this. Call it beauty and business or something. So anyway, Victoria's Secret was started in 1977 by this guy, Roy Raymond, and also his wife, Gay. And I feel like most people that talk about Victoria's Secret or like how it got started or whatever, they forget about Gay. They're just like, oh, it was started by this man, which, spoiler alert, I feel is a big part of the problems this company has had. It's all about the men, and that is just not cool. So they had their first store in the Palo Alto shopping center because they lived in Palo Alto. Roy was actually a Stanford grad, and he was a grad from Stanford Business School. He got an MBA there, and if you guys know, that is like basically one of the most exclusive, top ranked MBA programs in the world, which yes, you need to be smart to get into and you need all of this, but most of all, you just need money and some connections. And I'm assuming this is just me on a personal side note that Roy had some family money because he started Victoria's Secret with a $40,000 loan from his family. They were just like, go ahead, honey, there you go. And also a $40,000 loan from the bank. So he had $80,000 to start this company. And Roy has said that the reason why he wanted to start Victoria's Secret was because he was so embarrassed to go shopping for lingerie for his wife. And I don't really know. I mean, do men shop for lingerie? I think I've never really seen a man by himself at Victoria's Secret, but I guess that's kind of what he wanted to do. So he was like, okay, I want to make this store that's really comfortable for me to walk into, because back then, this was the 70s. Lingerie wasn't like cool and trendy and colorful and all of this. It was just like more functional, you know? It was more like, okay, what are we gonna do? What do you need this for? What do you need your bra for? And then that was it. It was just supposed to be like kind of like hidden. It would be to the sides of department stores, just like the lower level. That's where you would find some bras that weren't even that cute, because that just wasn't a thing. People just didn't really want their lingerie to be out there. It was either for day-to-day wear where it was really basic, or then they had like the line for, you know, sexy time. So he starts Victoria's Secret, and he was inspired by the Victorian era. So the stores all had like a red sofa inside them. They were supposed to be super sexy. They were more geared towards men. So they had like dark colors, and it was supposed to look like this Victorian boudoir. It was supposed to just be something where they could go and shop and feel comfortable in. All these men getting their women lingerie. And Victoria's Secret actually did really, really well. In its first year, it made $500,000, which is amazing. I mean, for starting businesses, most of them are not even profitable within the first year. So that is great. And then he went on to open up 3 more stores, all in the San Francisco area. And then something else that he had that was really like a big part of the business, especially back in the day, was this mail catalog. So mail as in male, not male as in like the man. So basically with this, people could shop just on their catalog. And I remember this being a big thing even like in the 90s, so I can only imagine around the late 70s, 80s, this must have been huge. Now by 1982, Victoria's Secret was doing $7 million in sales. This is only about 5 years after the business was started, and they were already at $7 million. So it grew a lot, and 55% of the revenue was from the catalog. So that was where most of their coin was coming from. It wasn't even the stores, which were like made to cater the men and were really kind of like where it all started. So basically life was good for Roy and Gay. I'm sure they felt great with their business that was booming. I mean, they did have some financial trouble, and I'll tell you guys, put a pin in that. But in the meantime, there was this other dude, and this guy's name was Les Wexner. And Wexner was older than Roy, and Wexner actually had grown up in the fashion business. He worked at his parents' store that was called Leslie's, and he was always kind of like, he had a lot of ideas, you know? He always wanted to like switch things up and just like make the business better, and he told his dad all of these ideas for that store that they had for Leslie's, and his dad was just not having it. His dad was very like old school. He was just like, this is what we do, this is what we sell, you know, you kids and your ideas, you kids and your TikTok. Oh, and PS, this guy Les Wexner, if his name maybe sounds remotely familiar to you, it's because he's very much involved in the Jeffrey Epstein scandal, because Jeffrey actually was rumored to have had a romantic relationship with him, and that's fine, whatever, I don't care what they do. Well, I guess I care what Jeffrey does, because I mean, the island. But they were rumored to have this romantic relationship, and Jeffrey actually stole $46 million from Les. So, you know, he stole those 46 million and just went ahead and bought himself a little island, which we've all heard about. But really, Jeffrey, all of, I think my beauty blender was reminding me to say allegedly, so he allegedly did all this, which we know he did. So basically, the money that Jeffrey Epstein had, that he started all of his weird, shady everything with, was from this man, from Les. So Les, like I said, he worked in his family's store and he had ideas, but these ideas were just not being understood by his family. So he went on to start his own store, and he actually started it with $5,000 that came from a bank, and then $5,000 that came from his aunt. So his aunt was probably like, I got you. I don't like what your dad is doing by not listening to you. Here you go, honey. Here's just a little something, something. Just a small $5,000, you know? I don't know, maybe because my family has literally no money, but 5,000 seems like a lot to me anyway. So Les went to open the Limited, and I feel like that's a pretty familiar name. I feel like we've all seen that store, the Limited. And when I was little, I was obsessed with Limited 2, which was like their kids store. But anyway, he opened Limited August 10th, 1963, and it grew. I mean, it was doing really, really well. By 1976, they already had 100 stores. So the Limited was popping. Basically, the Limited was about selling limited items. They sold just like basic like skirts and stuff like that, and they catered a lot to like the working woman, which by this time they were having a big rise. I don't know, the world was changing, you know, women were working more, they were just like doing their own thing, they had their money. So by the early 80s, Roy is in some trouble. Honestly, he's just not good with money. I've been reading different things about him, and he was about to go bankrupt like 3 different times, one of these being 1982, which is when, you know, everything happened with Victoria's Secret. And I don't know, my theory, this is just like a personal thing, is that he just didn't really know how to handle his money. You know, he was a smart guy, business school grad and all that, but really to get into like these top schools, I remember when we were applying for like business school, it was just, I mean, we thought it was just based on merit and like hard work and whatever your letters, but a lot of it has to do with your connections and your family having money. And I don't mean like money like, oh, maybe your dad is a doctor or something like that. I mean like money that was made like 200 years ago and you're just living off from that still, which I don't really get how that's better for schools than, you know, people who actually have worked hard for everything. I guess they need someone to donate some library or something, or just pay a bunch of money to pretend they can be in some team. I'm looking at you, Olivia Jade. So anyway, in 1982, Roy was in financial trouble, and Les ended up being the person that bailed him out. He went to San Francisco and he saw these stores, and he says he was really attracted to the red couches. He just thought they were so different, and the way everything was done in the store was just something that he had never seen before. And since Roy was in trouble, he ended up selling Victoria's Secret for $1 million. I've looked this up because I've read different numbers. I've read 1 million and also 5 million. And honestly, there's just like different things that are said about that, like the different numbers thrown around. But whatever it was, I mean, Victoria's Secret, even if he sold it for $5 million, that was nothing. I mean, by the time he sold it, the store was bringing in $7 million a year. So why he sold it for this much, I don't really understand the whole thing other than the bankruptcy. But this was a decision that went on to haunt Roy for the rest of his life until he ultimately took his life, because he ended up jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge. So at this time, Les is in expansion mode. He's like, okay, I'm gonna buy a whole bunch of different stores, and I'm gonna like turn the Limited, which was eventually known as L Brands, I'm just gonna turn this into the biggest thing in the world. we're just gonna take over the malls in America. They actually eventually did become the biggest mall tenant because they own so many stores like Abercrombie and Fitch, Bath and Body Works. They own a lot of stuff where we shop at. And Victoria's Secret eventually was the biggest earner out of the entire portfolio, out of all these brands that were at the mall, like literally in every mall in America. Victoria's Secret was the one that was selling the most. So by 1986, Victoria's Secret had expanded. So this was 4 years later after they had been sold to Roy. They had expanded to 100 stores. And by 1995, which I feel was really when it started to be like, ooh, Victoria's Secret, like, ooh, they had 670 stores and almost $2 billion in sales. So 1.9 billion in sales a year, which is, amazing. So during the 90s was when Victoria's Secret really expanded and it became more like what we know today. They came out with like fragrances, which I'm like, I feel like Victoria's Secret fragrances are such a big part of the brand. They also came out with swimwear, which I loved the Victoria's Secret swimwear. And at this point, the brand was really growing a lot. And Roy wanted to be involved in the brand. He wanted to like have some say in what happened to it, what was done, because it was his baby, right? Like he created this. I always thought it was called Victoria because his wife was Victoria, but it was just Victoria because of the Victorian age. So anyway, he really wanted to have some decision making within the brand. And that was something that wasn't given to him by Les. That just drove him crazy. He really tried to have other businesses. He tried multiple businesses. One of them was like a child store, which was basically like the same thing as Victoria's Secret, but for children. Just a store that specialized in catering to children. Jeffrey Epstein would have been all over that. But nothing really worked and they would just keep failing and he ended up going bankrupt. I feel like he had issues with money. And then in August 1993, he divorced his wife and in November, he jumped off the bridge. His wife just says that he felt he had too much on his shoulders. Like he just the pain of seeing Victoria's Secret grow and have him not be involved, kind of like his baby, and he just couldn't be a part of it. And he had all these financial troubles. He just felt like there was no way out. Victoria's Secret, however, kept growing, and in 1995 they started the famous Victoria's Secret fashion show, and this was started by Ed Razek. Do you want to remember this guy? Just remember him. Les was of course involved. He was really involved in everything that had to do with the company, but Ed was just the one that was in the forefront of this fashion show. And the first fashion show was so different from what they are nowadays. I watched the video and it was at the Plaza Hotel and it was just a fashion show. There was no kissing, no like cute faces, no celebrity guests dancing or singing. It was just literally a fashion show. They kept expanding, and in 1999 they came out with Body by Victoria, which is like their best-selling bra line. It actually sold 2.5 times faster than any of their other bras within the first 2 weeks. And it was more expensive. People just didn't care. They wanted that bra. They were like, ooh, I need this in my life, because it had like support, but it was still comfy and it had like all these different colors. It was kind of what Victoria's Secret, like the Victoria's Secret we know. And in 2004 they launched Pink. I love Pink. Pink actually ended up growing to $700 million in sales within the first 2 years. So it was a big success. And things were good for them. They just kept doing the same thing they had always done, which honestly I think that's the mistake. And they had sales growth. Like every year they kept having growth up until 2016. So 2016 rolls around. And mind you, it's been like over a decade since they launched Pink or anything like that. And really since they've done anything that was different with the brand. They were just doing their show, launching models' careers, like Adriana Lima, Giselle Bundchen, just like every model we know. Victoria's Secret was just like the ultimate goal because it just made them, I felt like it was a different level, And these models, these angels, just all pretty much looked the same. They were all like super tall, they had boobs, they had butt. They were just like a model, a Victoria's Secret model. And that was what was considered like the ultimate, like the body that people wanted. However, that was not what people wanted. So Victoria's Secret starts to see a decrease in sales. They're not growing anymore. And what they do is they decide they're going to focus on what their main things are. So they get rid of swimwear, for example. And I was sad when this happened. I loved Victoria's Secret swimwear, but it is what it is, They got rid of it. They were like, bye. So they get rid of swimwear and they decided to focus on, the basics. They focused on their underwear, like their bras. And they also wanted to focus on just workout stuff. This was when we started wearing leggings to go everywhere. We would just wear them. Didn't matter where we went. Definitely, we're not working out, but we're still in leggings, as I am right now, in leggings. So Victoria's Secret was basically like downsizing, but this was way too late. I mean, it was 2016. 2016, that was 4 years ago. And that's when they realized that they needed to do something a little bit different. That's when they started to change things. And by this point, there was already really cool brands like Aerie, Third Love, for leggings, Lululemon. I mean, Lululemon went public in 2007 and their sales have increased every year. Their stock is just real high. So basically, Victoria's Secret decided to do something almost 10 years after Lululemon was already public. Being public just basically means that you're part of the stock market. That's just when a company's like robust, you know, it's grown, it's at a point where it's like, okay, we're gonna be out there for the public. And I feel like there was a change in the woman Victoria's Secret was catering to as well, because before they were catering to like these women that were like, ooh, this is cute and I want a padded bra, and like comfort wasn't really as much of a thing as it is now. But now we're just like, I just want a bralette, girl. Like, I don't want all this push-ups and all these things that sure maybe they'll like appeal to a man, but I just want to appeal to myself and I want to be comfortable with me. And of course there was that issue of inclusivity. Basically inclusivity, Victoria's Secret was like, don't know her. They stuck to their ways. They were like, we are just gonna have the same angels year after year who all, you know, somewhat look the same because they all have the same body type. There was no difference in their campaigns. There was really no different races or body sizes, nothing. It was all like these angels who were like the ultimate goal. But really it was a very unattainable goal. Like, how many people do you know that look like that? Nobody. So most women were just kind of tired of that. There was so many companies that were actually being inclusive, and I feel like nowadays we care a lot more about where our money goes to, what companies we're supporting and what they're doing. And Victoria's Secret just didn't seem to be good. They were just like so behind and not willing to change, really. So Ed Razek was this gross dude, and he actually joined the company in 1983. So he started doing the fashion show in 1995, which was more than 10 years after he had already worked for the company. And he was just a mess. So there's so many complaints that have been filed about how he's a misogynist, about how he would say things that are just wrong to models. He would just be like, oh, sit on my lap, or like, let me touch you, or things about like their bras. Things are just inappropriate. But this was just how the business was ran. It was just like, oh, it's normal. But for 2016, that was no longer normal. I mean, women were starting to speak up. There was the whole Me Too movement. And we were honestly just tired. And I include myself in that. I'm tired of these men that think they have all these power over these beautiful women just because they're like old and gross. No, no ma'am. So there was this entire culture of misogyny, and so many employees complained of harassment in the workplace. And before I did my proper research on this, I thought that Ed was fired or like he quit. I mean, he quit, but okay, Ed. But I thought the reason why that happened was because he actually went on to say some really famous quotes, which I will read to you. He says, nobody goes to a plastic surgeon and says, make me fat. That's what he said when he was asked about body inclusivity. And then he also said, and this is a quote, this is not something I'm saying, I'm quoting this dude. Shouldn't you have transsexuals in the show? No, I don't think we should. Well, why not? Because the show is a fantasy. It's a 42-minute entertainment special. That's what it is. So first he used the word transsexual, which is not really cool nowadays. And then also he said that the show is a fantasy. So why can't someone who's trans be part of this fantasy? People were outraged. They were so mad. They were asking him to step down, which he did. And actually the same year that he resigned, which was 2019, last year, we got rid of this man. And not really. So the same year he stepped down, the show was canceled. I mean, I thought he had just resigned because people were so mad at those quotes, but there was so much going on behind the scenes that some people didn't really know about, and nobody really listened to these women that were being harassed because he was like, ooh, the big boss. However, and the reason why I said that we didn't really get rid of him is because his son Scott was also with the company. And Scott was actually also accused of the same things that Ed was. I mean, this was his dad. He was learning, like his dad was telling him, oh, you gotta tell the pretty girl to sit on your lap if she wants to get the job, which is just awful. And it makes me so sad to think that so many women had to go through this and deal with these idiots just to fulfill their dream. Because girls were literally crying if they would get casted in the Victoria's Secret show. That was like the highlight of their life. And they would cry. They would be like, I finally made it, because this was such a big deal. I mean, it really was. We all know that. So Scott did not step down, and all Scott did was switch brands. So within L Brands, he went from Victoria's Secret to Bath and Body works. And to me, that's kind of BS because, okay, sure, you're no longer surrounded by all these beautiful models. You just have candles to harass. But I'm sure there's other women that work at Bath and Body Works. So why do they have to put up with this man and all his harassment, all his stuff? I don't know. We gotta ask ourselves that. So right now, Victoria's Secret is looking into closing a lot of their stores because even more with everything that's been happening. And they've tried to remain trendy by doing collabs and stuff like that. But even the collabs, I feel like are kind of behind. They just feel like they're literally a brand that stayed behind. They stayed where, you know, women, they all had to be tall and skinny to be beautiful, which is the furthest thing from the truth. And they just kept catering, in my opinion, to men. They were like, okay, this is the male fantasy, so we're just gonna do that. And that's just not cool. Nowadays, women have a lot of buying power and just decision making overall. I feel like our voices are heard a lot more, which obviously is something that these guys were not ready for. I mean, they were friends with Jeffrey Epstein. What else can I say? They literally helped him become who he was. So yeah, I like this look. It's really pink. I love how it looks. I feel like maybe on camera it looks a little bit washed out. I have to fix my colors, but you know, I'm learning, you guys. So let me know if you enjoyed this. Let me know what other brands or thing you would like me to talk about because I'm so open to it. I feel like this was a lot of fun for me and I really want to repeat it. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.